everyone. May peace be on you all, and welcome to another episode of I'm a Muslim and That's Okay. I'm your host, Shaila, and I am back with another whole Muslim segment. And my guest today is Sabriah Reese. How are you, Sabriah?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So, Sabriah, I was looking through your bio. You are a single mom of 5 kids in Philadelphia. You are the CEO of Daughters of the Deen, and you are a life coach. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get here doing all of these things?
Everything started about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was married and I had just given birth to my 5th child, and everything seemed like, it was okay. It wasn't great. My marriage wasn't the best. And I went in the States, you stay in the hospital for about 2 days, you come home.
Right.
So I came home and that night, went to sleep, woke up, my husband went to work, so I thought, and never came back.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing, major happened, no argument or, he just, Assalamu alaikum, have a good day. I said, you have a good day too. I'll see you tonight.
Oh, wow.
And never returned. So,
that is a bad ghost, Sabriah. That's legit the worst kind of ghosting that could happen.
Yes, especially if you're already married. It's different, like you're dating somebody and, but so it was really a traumatic experience. It was very spurred me into a really bad depression because I just couldn't figure out why and what happened. And by the time we actually got a chance to really speak about everything, it was like 3 months later that I had the shock of it. I really believe the mental instability put me into a physical sickness. And I started getting sick like immediately, like a week. My daughter got sick. She had pneumonia. She was in the hospital. I got sick. I was in the hospital, and it just was like constant, like this for 4 years. Just constantly, I was in and out of the hospital. So, in about 3 months in, my father was finally able to get in touch with him, and it was like, what's going on? Like, he would respond every now and then about I'm just going through something, but like not like I'm leaving. It's just like I'm just doing me type thing.
Right.
And so by 3 months, my father is like, listen, you need to just give her a divorce. In Islam, we say, put her in idda, pronounce divorce on her, talaq, and let her go her way, you go your way.
Right.
And so that's pretty much what happened. He tried to prolong it, and my father got the imam, the leaders involved in the community here in Philadelphia, and we got the divorce. And 4 years of that, and at one day I'm in the hospital, and I just was like, the doctors really couldn't find much wrong with me. Right. I did have some thyroid issues. I had to have surgery. But other than that, it was really like, a lot of the stress was breaking down my body. Right. So, they could only treat that one thing, but not, I had to deal with the emotional trauma.
Right.
And so...
And you had 5 kids, Sabriah.
I had 5
You have to take care of them little babies too.
Right. I had a newborn baby, and then the next child after that, they're only 15 months apart. So I had like a 1.5-year-old, a newborn, and then older children, but still, needed me, not like dependent. Right. So it was just a lot of stress on me. I lost my job around the same time, so I didn't have an income. It was just everything. So many things happened. So when I finally, after about 4 years of this, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to keep doing this. I have to heal. Like, I have to, get to a better place for myself, for my children. Right. Because the doctors will keep treating my symptoms, but not me, Right. And I made a vow. I just talked to Allah said, talk to God, and I just said, if you get me through this, because I really just thought I wasn't going to make it through, I'm going to die, and a part of me was okay with that, because it's like death meant I didn't have to deal with the reality of what was
That's
happening.
Right.
And I didn't want any other woman to experience what I was experiencing. And that's where I kind of was in the line of doing this work prior to this. But I stopped because I was married and just, this life. But this time I was like, I'm not going to stop. I want to help other women. I want to heal in myself and then help other women who are going through these experiences who may not have the resources. Like alhamdulillah, I was educated, I had degrees, so I was able to go back in the workforce. My family, was involved as well in helping me, my parents. So I've thought, how many women who don't have anybody, don't have help, or in a shelter or can't pick themselves up, just lose hope and give up.
Right.
And that's where Daughters of the Deen came in. And I said, I want to tell my story. Telling my story was just like my way of, it was very therapeutic, just putting pen to paper and then actually getting it published and it becoming a book. It just was very empowering to me to be able to tell that story that I made it through. Like, wow, and that's how I got to where I'm at now.
And if you could give like a brief synopsis of what was in Daughters of the Deen. I mean, was it just your story? And how, and I think my question is, how did you pull yourself out of this? Because it's a very dark abyss. Yeah. How does one find that, I don't know, strength is the only word that comes to me, but it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. It was not easy. My children have seen me in my worst. A lot. I cried a lot. But I would say the faith, my faith carried me through, because I know as a Muslim, Allah says He doesn't give us a burden greater than we can bear. And so if I was given this, then it must be for a reason. What is it that I'm supposed to get out of this? And He also promises that in my situation, I was under oppression, and that the one that's oppressed, there's no barrier between their dua and reaching God, that you will be responded to. So I turned all of my pain and my frustration and my anger into a prayer, a dua that, to not only get me through this and my children through this, but I want all of what I was taken from me, I want it back. And if I don't get it back in this life, if I never reconcile with my ex-husband now, and he never comes back, he never apologizes, that on the day where I stand before the Creator of the heavens and the earth, that was all I had to go through to have eternity with Him. That's that one, thing is what I went through to be able to live in Jannah, forever. And so that gave me hope, that maybe that this difficult situation in this life is so short and so temporary, that gave me hope that, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that some good can come from this for me and my children, but also that knowing that I could use my story to help other women, was very empowering to me, and it motivated me to push through and heal, and part of that was going through therapy, going to counseling. I myself had a life coach that I went to, and that was more of an actionable thing where I wanted to achieve a goal. I didn't want to just talk about how I felt. That was one thing, but I also wanted to put action to it. Okay, this is how you feel. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to transfer that energy into something positive? And that's why I became a life coach myself, because I feel like it's one of the best ways to take emotion or a feeling and turn it into an action. Something that you actually physically move into a direction, instead of just having a feeling. We put the feeling into action.
And that's the other thing. I mean, I've heard of life coaches. I have friends who have life coaches. I probably should ask them, we're like, what do you do? How does this work? Because it's just, this is, for me, it's such a new thing. When I was like younger, we didn't have life coaches. At most, you had maybe a psychiatrist or a therapist or something of that sort. So you, as a life coach, you gave some hints into what happens, but what do you do for the women who come to you?
So that's an excellent question. A lot of people think that a life coach is just a therapist, and it's in most cases it is. You have the freedom and the space in a non-judgmental way to talk about how you feel. Right. The difference is what we do is set up. Okay, what is it where do you see yourself? I use all of my packages start at 3 months. So let's say someone comes to me, you came to me and you want in 3 months time span to be in a different place, wherever it may be. I want a different job, or I want to be enrolled in school. I want to be love myself more. I'll deal with what I'm doing specifically is working with women who are working on loving themselves and putting themselves first, and they've experienced some trauma, whether it's a childhood trauma they're trying to overcome, or in my, similar to what I went through in a divorce. And so when you talk about how you feel about it, and that's very valid, but also now what steps can you take to move forward from that, so you're not stuck, in that pain, in that moment in time, that you can push, move forward. So that's what I do.
And I think that's incredible, especially as women. Traditionally, we have not been taught to do these things for ourselves, or even when in situations when that we're in trouble or we need help, we don't even know how to seek help and then move forward from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think my other question is, do you just have Muslim women as clientele, or do you have other women who come to you?
I have not only Muslim women, I have other women that are not Muslim as well. And that was something initially that I was a little bit afraid of, because a lot of my coaching when I first started was heavily based in faith, in belief. And so I had to challenge myself to reach out, not necessarily reach out, but be open to coaching women. At the core of what I do, and this is one of the reasons why I love what I do, we're human. We're human beings, and no matter what your belief is or your faith is, that I'm a woman, you're a woman, and healing is a part of the human journey. So I think that was for me, it was a lesson that I learned even within myself, is to not limit myself only because of my belief. What I believe doesn't mean that I'm not going to be able to service someone else who doesn't have the same belief, because at the end of the day, we are still human beings going through a life journey, and I can service you in that way. Right.
No, most definitely. What is the most difficult thing about what you do as a life coach? Again, I'm just looking at it from the outside. I would not even know what the nitty-gritty is that comes from it. So what is the hardest part of doing what you do?
I think for me, the hardest part is the stories. I listen to women, and when we hang up, I carry their pain with me. And it's very difficult. I have a friend of mine who was also, she became a friend, but started off as a client. And she said that, how do you release these stories? What is it? That we were in a group call together, and women were telling their stories, and she was so emotional. Afterwards, she's like, I'm really, really depressed, and I keep thinking about what they said, and it's affecting me. And I said, listen, you take the stories, you listen to the stories, but you do not consume it as a part of who you are. You have to, you keep it mentally, but you don't put it in your heart.
That's so
You
hard,
carry it with you,
Sabriah.
and it's hard. So that's why it's hard, because I hang up and I'm like, oh, I want to take the woman, I want to take my clients to say, I'm just going to give you everything you need. I'm just
Right.
going to, I'm going to get you out of this situation. And
Right.
we're 3 years down the line. I just want to skip time, and you can't.
Yeah.
So, I grieve with them.
Right.
We have moments where we may cry together, and I say, I know where you are. Let's relive this moment. I remember, feeling this way, or I remember being in this situation. But the power is that I know that I can help them. I know that this is just situational, and that in the future, in the very near future, you won't feel this way. You won't be in a situation. So that empowers me, because I know that, by God's will, I'm going to be able to help them. I think it would be harder if I didn't have this training and I'm listening to these stories and I have no way of helping them move forward. That's more difficult than being able to say, I understand and I feel you, but guess what? We're going to do the steps to get you to this where you want to be.
Right. And how are you with your family now? Like, your kids are older now and they see you as a life coach. I mean, what do they feel about what you do and, how you help other women?
My children are, it gives them a sense of pride, because they have seen me, transform.
Right.
And in a way, a prelude to them, to honor them. In my book, I have named my chapters after them.
Oh,
and
sweet.
Someone, a friend of mine that knows me, she read the book. She said, "Why did you put some of the chapters? Why did you name them?" I said, "It was my way of honoring my children, because they were with me throughout this journey. And it was, I wanted to be able to not only thank them, but show them that I value them, and the experience that, that I essentially dragged them through, that they didn't have a choice. They were born. They didn't have a choice to, come into the world. I brought them into the world. Right. So it was my way of, honoring them. I'm very open with them. We talk a lot about, what has happened, and, where their father is, and, how we feel about everything. I'm very open with them, because I don't want them to feel like they don't have a voice, or they can't express how they feel in a safe environment and not be judged or, get in trouble for it. I know that they are very proud of. My daughter wrote an essay. I think the title was called "Who's Your Hero?" And she said, "Mom, I want you to read it," but she didn't tell me. And it was, she wrote about me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm emotional." But I think it's, I was really, a part of why I was so sad at the beginning was because I didn't want to put them through, this hardship. However, I do think, I feel very strongly that seeing this transformation shows them that in life you're going to go through things, and it's not what you go through, it's how you respond to it and bounce back from it. Because if we hadn't gone through this, if I stayed married, we would have gone through something else. Right. That's just the way life is. There's ups and downs to life. So I wanted them to see that, no matter what you go through, that you can push forward, you can move on. It doesn't have to be define who you are, and you don't have to be beaten down from one life experience.
Right. And if there was one piece of advice that you could give to any woman who's listening and watching right now, who does not know what to do with themselves, or a very difficult life situation that they're going through or have been through, what advice would you give them?
I would say, first and foremost, put yourself first. Value who you are, and that you do not have to go through this suffering. This is not something that you deserve. A lot of women that are in these relationships, whether it's abusive or toxic or just they're not happy, they believe this is what they deserve. And that couldn't be farthest from the truth. So, value yourself. You are an amazing human being, even with your flaws. You know, you are worthy of love, and a love that's healing and restorative, not painful. Secondly, I would tell them to live, to be in that moment and to feel. You know, allow yourself to feel. Do not feel bad for crying or being upset or angry. You know, a lot of times, especially when you're a mother, you don't want the children to see you upset.
Right.
You know, but allow yourself to feel. And if it means you separate yourself from them for, you know, 15 minutes, or go on a walk, or when you drop them off at school, whatever it is, you have to feel, because the only way to get on the other side of grief and trauma is to go through it. You know, if we don't go through it and feel it and experience it, that's not healing. You know, just to push it.
I think that's such an integral lesson that we don't realize we need to understand, that unless we experience the grief, we'll never get over it.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
A lot.
I mean, thank you so much. It's fantastic. Like, even that one bit of advice. But before I let you go, you have to tell us where we can find you online, on Instagram, social media, wherever that women can get in touch with you for your life coaching, and where they can find your books.
Sure. So my book is entitled Cooked Rib Golden Soul, by Sabriah Bilal. That's my maiden name. It is on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon. I'm looking for a copy so I can give you a visual.
Sure.
So this is the book, Cooked Rib Golden Soul. It's on Amazon. Also, you can find me on Instagram as Bree Speaks. And if you want to register for any of my services, I offer free counseling. And before you go into a paid counseling session, I'll just make sure that we are a good fit. And my website is breebreespeaks.com.
Thank you so much, Sabriah. It was wonderful having you, and
thank you.
sharing all of your experiences. I think, again, as women, we still need a lot of self-healing as we move forward with our lives. And, you know, again, whatever we can find that helps us take those steps forward, whether it's through a therapist, through a life coach, I think it's integral. And it's integral what you do for women through your own experiences. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for everybody who's listened to us or watched us on YouTube. Y'all take care of yourself, and may peace be on you all.
Thank you for having me.